shooting this video to serve as a guide for rebuilding the 496, the Mercruiser 496 seawater pump. Anyone that's had one of these pumps for any length of time knows that these brass housing pumps just don't fare well very long. As the impeller fails, so does the housing, especially if you boat in any water that may contain any types of abrasive sand. In the area I boat in, there's a lot of mud, so these pumps don't last very long. I rebuilt this pump once before and used a kit from Aftermarket Marine that used a stainless steel disc that dropped into the bottom, and a shorter impeller, and then a stainless steel plate with a gasket over the backside, and then the pump would go back together like this. I used it for a couple seasons, but had a failure with the impeller. I contacted Aftermarket Marine and they said that these early batches of these kits had a compound issue with the rubber, so they sent me out a brand new kit, which I have over here, and just feeling the elasticity or the durometer of the rubber, this does feel much softer than the original impeller, which feels very almost stiff or brittle. So the process involved is the same. You go ahead and drop a wear plate into the bottom of the housing, and that creates a nice flat surface for the impeller to run against. The next step is loading your impeller, and the way to do this, I'm going to put the phone down and I'll come back to this, but you spray a little bit of a lube inside the bore and maybe on the blades, because you're going to want to apply a twisting motion as you push the impeller in. So I'll come right back to you. A trick you can kind of use while installing the impeller, you can see the spline portion of it is recessed below the impeller. So once you get the impeller started, I mean ever so slightly, you're only going to get the impeller started maybe 3/16 of an inch, but you apply a counterclockwise rotation on your impeller until you feel the shaft of the pump, and then once you have the impeller aligned with that shaft, you're going to want to apply just a lot of pressure on the impeller, but turn the housing clockwise direction. And I'll try to demonstrate here. I'm just going to apply some pressure down on it, and I'm going to rotate the housing clockwise. And you can see it kind of just slides in them. Hopefully that came through on the video. And you can see the impeller is now sitting flush with the top edge now, in which this plate will now be the new wear surface. And when you use these plates, there's always going to be a smooth side and a burr side. I'm guessing these look like these were cut with a laser, but you'll have a smooth side, which is the shiny side, in which when you receive it, it's got a piece of plastic over it, and that piece of plastic is used so that when they cut it with a laser, the laser doesn't reflect back up at the machine. So they put a piece of plastic over it, pull that piece of plastic off, and then you'll use that side down against the impeller because it's smooth. The back side has a slight burr to it, and we wouldn't want to have that running against the impeller. So that will go like this. What makes these kits work is the fact that the impeller itself is not as tall as an OEM one. It has to take into account this spacer that you've dropped down to the bottom of the cavity. So you want to make sure before you bolt this down that you are in fact sitting flat. Otherwise you'll take your housing, which is a relatively thin piece of cast bronze, and you're going to bend the ears over. So I'm taking a straight edge, you'll put it right across there. And what you don't want to see is, like, you know, raised up on a side like that. So going flat across the face of the housing and across the impeller, you want to make sure that it's sitting nice and flat. No gaps on the impeller side and no gaps on the housing. The O-ring installed. The O-ring will seal up against the wear plate, and we're using the smooth side down. And then the new gasket will seal the new wear plate against the old pump housing. To do is finish installing the rest of the bolts around the perimeter of the back, the back of the housing, as well as the mounting arm. I've already started this. The bolts are all loose right now, but one thing I can't stress enough is the use of blue Loctite, especially when you're dealing with stainless steel bolts. Any type of lubricant you can put on a stainless bolt will help. Granted, you're screwing into a brass housing, so the chance of galling is virtually negated just because of the materials. These are a 6mm bolt, so they have a 10mm head. And 6mm bolts in stainless steel. Don't sure what grade this is, and I couldn't find in the Mercury service manual. But typically stainless steel bolts in a 6mm are going to be about 70 inch-pounds. So you're going to want a typical tightening pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that order, working from the center, working your way out. And I would snug them all down by hand and then get your torque wrench and go to 70 inch-pounds. The same applies to the front of the bracket where it attaches to the housing. All right, good luck, and thanks for watching.